You're listening to the Service Business Marketing Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping your service-based business grow and thrive using the latest technology in internet marketing. And now, here's the host of our show and the CEO of Grow Inc., Matt Law.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another training episode. Matt Law here with Grow Inc. I am glad you are joining us for the second part of our series on sales. And this one, we are going to go through the process of who you might meet when you go out and talk to different people. Now, this is taken from a book that I've read and just thought through quite a bit. It's a book by Brian Tracy on sales. So you can look him up, and it's got a lot of different ideas. But there's a section in there where it talks about the different types of people that you will meet and how you can sell to them. So if you're going out, you're meeting homeowners, you're meeting, maybe you're doing some commercial work as well, but you're meeting most likely some homeowners and talking to them. And it's good to be aware of the different personalities that you meet. So you get in your vehicle, you got your folder, you're going out, and you maybe, if you're a salesperson, you've never had a conversation. You don't really know who they are. And you're showing up, maybe you know their address, so you maybe know kind of like what part of town it is, how much income they maybe make, but you don't really know them. And you've done your job to be professional, and they've got an appointment booked and all of these things, and you show up. Who are you going to meet? So we're going to go through the different personality types that you could meet. And sometimes people are a mix of these, but this will be really helpful. So the first person that you can meet is the driver. And these are probably, depending on your personality, the hardest people to meet. They are decisive, they are in control, and they drive how things go. And so if you've ever been in a situation where you meet them, they're like, hey, here's what I want. Here's what I need. Cut all the bull. Let's just get to it. These are the drivers. And so their tendencies are to be very direct, right? They're not out to win friends. They are going to be direct. They are going to be often impatient, and they want answers fast, and they don't want fluff or anything like that. And what they care about is the results, the speed, and how competent you are. And so they will likely get to the point quickly for what they want, and they want a price. Okay, you can give them the price. And for these types of homeowners or customers, I would not go in depth on a longer sales process. Like if normally you do a hour or 40 minutes, I would cut that to like 5 minutes of here's how we're different, and still ask them the questions and try to understand, because the drivers appreciate when you try to understand what they want. So you can ask them a lot of questions, but when you're giving them how you're different, you can cut that down and you can give them a price. But make sure before you give them the price or the thing, they understand how you're different, all right, and your USPs, and give them that folder, because they will often look through that. So how do you sell to drivers, these driven, red type personalities? How do you sell to them? Well, you show them respect for their time, number one, because like they're busy, right? And in their mind, they're busy, even if they're not busy. So be to the point, right? Ask questions, and you can give them options, but you can always ask them if they want your professional opinion or what they're looking for. Are you looking for the cheapest, or do you want me to analyze your situation to figure out what would be different? And one of the things that you got to remember is that you have to be confident and lead confidently. So they may act like, hey, I got 100 guys out here, and their personality types often are, I'm better than you, and you're here to wait on me, and you're lucky if I even give you this business. If you act needy, you actually will lose that sale. And so you have to be confident that you don't need their sale. You want to be confident that you are there to help them and to serve them, but you have to be confident and not needy for the sale, because they will sense weakness in you and then not give you the sale. If you have a time slot, make sure you do not go over that time slot for your appointment. Do not over-explain. Don't ramble. Don't be unsure. With them, what I would do is like, hey, do you want my professional opinion to ask this, or do you just want the lowest price? I could diagnose this for you, and we can have a conversation. And they're going to say, well, what are you thinking? And then you ask them some really great questions, which could then get you a better opportunity to give them really what they want. That's when you usually can help close them, if they give you permission to ask and diagnose the problem or what they're really looking for. If they are like, hey, I just want this, I'm busy, and then I would say, well, okay, based on what I'm saying, I don't really know because we haven't spent time on it, but here seems like the problem. Here's the fix. All right, you could have these two options. We can start this date. Here it is. And then you can give them that in our folder. I would not worry about those times. These are hard people to sell, by the way, because they are a lot of times going to go to the price quickly, and they're tougher people to sell because they're very, in their mind, very knowledgeable and like this. And my personality, I'm a mix between the driver is one of my personality types. So depending on what I'm doing, I'll often try to get to the point. My wife has really helped me to be more aware of this and my personality, and to try to be more kind. But you, business owner, are often like this as well. Salespeople, sometimes you're very driven as well, and you're the driver of your company and things like that. So you want to be aware of who they are. And if you sense that they are just cut to the chase type of people, then you want to say, hey, can I help you diagnose? Do you want professional advice, or do you just want the price? Now you're giving them what they want. And no, usually the drivers aren't going to say, well, just give me the price and get out here. They're going to say, well, okay, you really want to know. You really got some questions. Okay. And if you've handled yourself well, you'll get a permission to quote them. So number one is the driver. Number two is the analytical. All right. These are people that are very detailed in thought, in their thought process. And they got spreadsheets and comparisons. And I mean, these are very detail-oriented people. They can often be very skeptical, right? They don't trust anything or anybody. Analytical people, you may not have to ask them questions. They are going to ask you 1,000 questions. And if you've ever been on appointment, a lot of times with the analytical, it's going to go over because they have so many questions. They want lots of ideas, lots of proof. And so you may only have 2 options, but they will make it into 30 options. And they will almost confuse you with all the questions that they will ask. They want proof, right? Well, what is this? What is this? And they're often very slow to decide. And so if you get one of these types of projects, you will think it's going to close, and then it won't. You'll think it's going to close. Nope, still not closing. And these people are uncertain because they're so thinking through the decision. They care about logic. They care about the process. They care about accuracy and organization, and they hold you to a high standard for all of these things, right? For making sure you're logical and that the process is in order and that it's accurate to the T. If you do their project, it better be perfect, because if there's anything off just a little bit, they're going to bring that up to you, right? If there's a little nick on something or a scratch on something, okay, they're going to want to know. And so how do you sell them? How do you sell to analytical? Well, you slow down, right? And you just explain how it works. And then you explain it again. And then you explain it again and again and again and again. You show them data, right? You show them examples. You show them pictures, right? Hopefully your salespeople got pictures of examples or samples with them. You show them everything. You talk about the warranty. You talk about how the inspections. You talk about how the product is the best and how long you've been doing this. And then you pause and you give them time to decide. Most of these people are not going to buy right on the spot. I mean, very rare. Normally the driver could, the first person we talked about, but the analytical person, no, they're going to give them time. All right. And how you can ruin a sale with the analytical is by putting on pressure. because what they will do is then say no, right? So you never put pressure on an analytical person. You give them proof and examples of what to do, and you take time with them and realize that this sale is just going to take longer to close. So don't ever skip details. Go through every detail all the time. You don't want to just say, hey, just trust me, because they don't trust anybody. It's different. An example is like, here's like how we can fix this. Here's what you want. Here's how we will keep it going long term. And you want to give them a vision for that. And ultimately, with both the driver and the analytical and all of these personality types, it's about earning trust. You earn trust with the driver by being direct, by being a professional and asking good questions and not needy for the sale. You earn, trust with the analytical by slowing down and giving those details. The next person that we will talk about is the amiable. These people are your favorite clients, most likely, right? When you go to a home, they're like, hey, would you like some, cookies, or can I get you some lemonade? Well, I'm in the South, so this is what they say. But like, these are very, very friendly people. And so my personality type is I am a mix between an amiable and a driver, which is kind of a weird mix. But my wife is definitely the amiable. I'm more of the driver, and we're both, after 23 years of marriage, getting more in the middle, I guess. So the amiable people are relationship focus, right? They care more about liking you than what you're giving them, because somebody could give them the best item, but they could hate that sales guy and they don't like them. And so they will go with you if they like you. Now, some salespeople have, you know how to be a people person, right? And so amiable people love you, right? And they're like, man, this guy's so nice. And so, if you've gone out to a job and you've seen someone that's super kind and amiable, like they just want to trust you. And these people are very polite. They're great with hospitality. They're friendly. They avoid conflict. And so they'll never tell you no, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. You could call them forever, like, hey, are we going to move forward? They will never tell you no. They disappear and they hope that you stop calling them. Where a driver will say, no, we're not working with you. Like the analytical person will also say, I'm still deciding, or no. But the amiable people will just not even pick up the phone because they don't want to hurt your feelings, right? They care about being friendly and just how they feel emotionally. So they're very emotionally driven. They care about, can they trust you? And are you trustworthy? And do you love your family? And are you a good dad? Are you a good mom? Am I going to feel safe? Is it going to feel good? Do I feel comfortable with you? And so, for example, they care about their values and they want their values to match your values. And so let's say they're like a homeschool Baptist mom or something like that. And you go in there with profanity, right? Then that is automatically going to violate their trust. Just giving you an example. Or if they love, on the other side, death metal, right? I'm giving you an example, making this up as we go, folks. And they are punk rockers, right? And you are, not that. You've lost a little bit. The secret is not violating their trust, and more so by bad behavior. So if they value families and a marriage, and you're married and you talk about kids and all of that, that is a big win. So how do you sell to the amiable? And remember, we're talking about your home service business and what you're selling, but you're understanding who these people are. So how do you sell to them? Well, you don't start off by talking about the diagnosis and the problem. If you sense they're amiable, you talk to them about their family, about where they went to school, and just 2 minutes, get to know them, right? Build rapport with them, How do you sell to them? You reassure them, like, hey, no one's perfect, but this is how long we've been doing this. We really care about making things right. We've got great reviews online. You emphasize the support and the follow-up, like talking warranty, all of this, and be friendly. Now, you may not be this personality type. And if you are not this personality type, you will almost always lose these customers when you go out if you don't know how to, communicate to them. So if you are there and you sense they want to talk about family and they ask you questions, you ask them questions, then, yeah, no, I got 2 girls. They're this age and this is where they go to school. What about you? You build a connection with them. Remember, people do business with you if they know you, like you, and trust you. And so these people, I will say, they are least amount of price conscious. They will overpay and not even care, right? Because they feel peace in their heart while working with you. And so that doesn't mean you rip them off or anything. I'm definitely not advocating to them, but you're going to talk less about the product and more about them and what they want and their solution, and revealing who you are in an authentic way, and that you care about them and you're going to help them. And if they feel good in their heart, they're going to go with you. And it's not really about price, which is ironic. A lot of times people who have this personality, it could be the wife and the husband is the driver. And she's going to say, well, I like you, but I've got to talk to my husband, which is the analytical or the driver. Sometimes it's backwards. It just depends on the family. But with the amiable, what you don't want to do, you don't want to rush them or the visit. You will stay longer on these locations, but not talking about the job. You may spend 15 minutes at the end talking about, the city, the area, people that they know, and just try to linger if they want to talk. You can also lose these people if you try to close them before they're ready. Now, if they like you and they're ready to go, they're going to give you the contract. They're going to give you the money. They are going to go with you, but you don't want to be aggressive and try to close them, because now you're being a driver to them and they are very emotional, right? And amiable. So you're putting pressure and they don't like that. The other thing is, don't make them feel stupid, right? You want to just educate them and just like, hey, I can tell you about this. We can, let me tell you about the benefits of this. And remember, they care really about people, how they're seen, right? How they feel. And like as we've gone through 3 personalities so far, right? We've got the driven guy, the really red, strong guy. We've got, the analytical man. They are deep in thoughts, right? And then we have that amiable, which is like everyone's friend, like social out there. You still have to earn trust with all of these people. All right. So then you can get another personality that Brian Tracy talks about, is the expressive. They are very emotional. They are very big picture thinking. And what do we call these people? Like kind of ADD, right? I'm a little ADD myself. And sometimes when they're excited, they can talk a lot. They can talk about 1,000 topics at one time. They can seem very excited or stressed, right? They're like, hey, what about this? What about this? And it can come across almost as analytical, but what they are doing is processing details really, really fast. And so what does this expressive person care about? That is just all over the place, right? And they, they're kind of a mix of emotional and the amiable, but more to the analytical side. And it comes out where you are talking to them and it's like, I thought I talked about that. A lot of times they will talk really fast, right? They are excited and passionate. So what do they care about? They care about the vision, the big picture, right? They care about how is this going to happen? They care about timelines and outcomes, and they have a million questions in their mind that is scattered, and they are looking for someone to say, hey, slow down. Here's the way we'll do it. You won't say slow down to them, but what you will do is say, like, here's the vision. Here's the outcome. Here's how it's going to feel when it's done. Here's how it's going to work. And what you were doing is giving them the solution. And so when somebody is expressive and they're all over the place, how do you sell them? You kind of paint a picture for them, right? You focus on, all right, here's what I would suggest. And if you want, I can walk you through this. You can paint a picture like, okay, it starts here, goes to here, and then it goes, you go through that transformation of what's going to happen. You can be positive, but be grounded, because a lot of times they're thinking about a lot of different things, and they're worried about the future and what's going to happen, and almost a little stressful. And so you want to be upbeat, but you want to be grounded. So here's what you don't do with them. You don't get bogged down in specs or details. And they're going to try to pull you into all of the different options, which is rough because they want 1,000 options. And you're like, hey, we just don't do that. Here's what I think is good. Here's 2 options. I can't go like, I want to give you all of the options that are best, but this is what I would suggest for you. They're going to want sometimes line item breakdowns and like that. Like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. But try not to shut them down, because you will lose the sale. So you don't want to shut them down. You want to give them the vision. You definitely don't want to kill the enthusiasm. Now, what makes this really difficult? Those are the 4 personalities that Brian Tracy talks about in his book. What's difficult is you're sometimes not dealing with 1, you're dealing with 2. And what I want to come back to say is like how you handle yourself with 1 impacts the other, right? So if you're talking to the driven person and there's a meeting with a couple, you're talking to the driver, right? He also has input from maybe the amiable wife, or maybe the, this excited, expressive wife. It depends on, maybe the wife is the driver, but he is very, amiable and kind. Well, one guy may like you, the other person may not. And so you have to be aware of who's driving the conversation, who cares more. Ultimately, someone may care about, the price more than others. And so you are marketing to both of them. And that's why your communication to them before the meeting, the confirmations, how you show up, how you look, all of that coming to that meeting matters so much. A lot of people, when you are selling, they care about different things. Now, think about this. Like, if people buy on value, there's different value points for each of these different personalities. The amiable person cares about trust and how they feel, right? The driven person cares about quick results, what it's going to cost, like how long is it going to take? I mean, they want to get to the point. And so you have to find the balance of knowing who they are in a very quick way and then communicating to their need, right? And this is where this is so important. And most salespeople, if you're listening to this, you probably haven't even thought about some of these things. You have a very short time, minutes to, and it's not like when I go to meetings, I don't intuitively go back and say, oh, they're this person. This isn't something I think about. I try to handle myself in a way to say, if they're driven, I got to get to the point. If they want a lot of details, I got to give details, right? If they want to talk family, I will talk family, right? If they're excited and nervous and just all over the place, then I want to paint the picture. I don't think about, okay, this is this person, and I don't worry about that. I've over the years of selling, I've understood like I need to seek first to understand and then be understood. This is Stephen Covey, old school leadership stuff. Seek first to understand and then be understood. Brian Tracy, this is probably the most important insight, and the money part is that he says that most sales are lost because the salesperson sells only to their personality type, not the buyers. So if you go out and you are driven and you are a driver and you always get to the point and you're selling to an amiable, you will often lose that sale because you're just to the point and you have no, asking about their family, getting to know them. If you are an amiable person and you are going out and you're talking to a driver and you're talking about family and all this other stuff, you've lost that sale, right? If you're an analytical person and you got all of these details and you're selling to a driver, you're actually going to drive them away because they're like, I don't care about the details. I want the final thing, right? So most business owners, like you guys, all right, are often drivers and analyticals, right? I've got one client that probably is a little bit all over the place, the expressive ADD, but most everybody is a driver or analytical, right? You started a business, you're the boss, all right? You tell people what to do. That's people I deal with that are drivers, people like you. And if you're a salesperson and you're driven, you're probably amiable. Maybe you're that, or you're driven, you're a driver. But that's not who you're often selling to. And so you got to remember that, hey, this is maybe who I am, but this is who is my customer, who is my client. And you got to identify their personality quickly. And then you're going to adjust your tone, your speed, and what you say, and let that buyer feel understood. In the end, they just have to know you, like you, and trust you. That's the secret to getting the sale. Of course, the product matters and what you know about the product. But at Grow Inc., and I'll kind of pull back the curtain and just tell you about my experience. And over the years, we have many different personality types that I work with. And most of them are analytical, or drivers, but most of them are analytical, I think. A lot of them are. And I show them a lot of details. Sometimes they are expressive. And I think I've got one guy that's very expressive and just kind of all over the place. And when I meet with him, he just needs encouragement and guidance. And so I show data, right? We spend time, assurance, big picture vision. We talk about the future. And so I've got, analyticals, strong personality types that are drivers, and a couple of expressive. I don't really deal with very many amiable people. They just don't buy businesses usually. They're not out to make, the amiable people are very friendly, but the other types I do see as drivers. Now, sometimes we get drivers, and I have a couple clients that are drivers, and they lead the company and they are quick to make decisions. More than likely, you are listening to this, you're driven, and that's why you're listening. A lot of times we don't work with drivers, and a lot of times they have trust issues, and they're doing the marketing themselves, which is pretty funny. And it's hard for them to let go of marketing. But when I meet with them, so the first meeting usually goes well. But then sometimes they will have a staff person, find me a marketing person, and then we'll set up this meeting, and then we'll go to the 2-hour call, which is in our investigation meeting. And probably about 3 times over the last couple of years, these drivers, they will cut it short. Well, can we just get to the point, and say something like that, which is hilarious because I am trying to understand what they need, and I can't give them an estimate. They're just like, what's it going to cost? And so I always cut that call short, say, well, let me just figure out this estimate, because it shows if I don't go through the asking of what they need and understanding how I can help them, and these drivers just shut everything down, it's really hard to partner with those. So usually we don't work with those drivers that are rude. So a lot of you guys out there are drivers, and you're trying to sell to, all various different people. But when we sell to drivers, there's a secret with us, is that they have to be humble, or they have to be willing to trust other people. So drivers can lean towards the narcissistic side, or they can lead to the driving side, but they are self-aware and more humble. So if they're driven and they empower others, then these are great clients for us, because that's a total different story. They're great because they trust and they're willing to empower somebody strong on their team as well. Pulling back the curtain for us, just helping you understand, I have to size up all of our clients as well, right? So if you ever schedule a call with me, I'm giving you my whole sales thing right now, just trying to help you with your business, is understanding who the client is and getting them to fall into what do they need to understand, and then also being able to diagnose that and say no to the bad deals. And what I will tell you is that if you are going onto a sales meeting, right, and and there is a driver or an analytical or somebody that you work with that you just like, I don't know, this isn't good. They're not allowing me to speak into what they really need. And I want to start off by, you sometimes go to a meeting and you think, I got to close every sale. And there are some customers, listen to what I'm going to say, there are some clients that you don't want to have. And almost always it is because they, even if you tune into their personality type, they are difficult to work with. And no matter what you say or what you do, you're not going to be able to give them what they want because their issue is trust. All right. So in our business, if people don't trust us, and they micromanage their marketing, I'm like, you guys, we are working really hard. You don't even understand these things. If they don't trust you, it's never going to work out. So people do business. I've said this a couple times. If they know you, right, and you've been transparent, they like you, and then they trust you, right? Those are ideal clients to look for, right? They know you, they like you, and trust you. But here's the thing. If they don't trust you and you go out to start that job, they're going to give you a list of chat GPTs, spit out of all the things you're doing wrong when you install or add or do all that. And you're going to feel second guessed and questioned the whole time. All right. Of course, you want them to know you. You want them to like you. But if they don't trust you, it's okay for you to not take the deal. Right. And actually, you don't want to, because those are people that leave 1-star reviews. Those are the people that can yell and scream. Those are the people that don't have expectations. Really, if they don't trust you, they should hire somebody else. But why did they hire you? This is the question. Why did they hire you? Because they had to hire somebody. But realistically, they just don't trust anyone. And so when you get the job and you take the job, it's going to go sideways and backwards and forwards and all of that. And so when you are going out there and you're identifying these personalities, right, and you're looking through them and you feel like everything's good and there are red flags about trust, all right, and some of the things that I look for is if people are naturally rude to you over the phone, or if they are nasty just to that. With us, we look for, do they have bad reviews? How are they treating their customers? How are they treating their staff? How are they treating people, right? Looking for these red flags. When you go to a house, you will find some red flags. And I'm gonna just tell you some secrets of dealing with these types of people. You have most of the people, and I will say 95% are going to be great. They may be a driver, but they're still going to be great. They're going to be trusted. They may be amiable, analytical, they are going to be expressive, and they're going to be great. But once in a while, you will find someone in that group that they may know you, they may like you, but they don't trust you. But they got to hire somebody because they got this thing they want to get done. And I would just encourage you, try not to work with them until you can earn their trust. And if they're the type that don't trust anybody, don't work with them. And so, Matt, well, what do you do? And you're like, what do I do if I have to give this person an estimate, but I feel like it's going to go sideways? And every time I talk to a business owner, right, and I talk to business owners all the time, and they get a bad review, and they're like, they always say this: I knew we shouldn't have taken that deal. I got to learn to trust my instinct. I knew we shouldn't have taken that deal, right? I should have listened to my instinct. And if you are listening, you're shaking your head saying, I knew. Remember, think about that deal that went bad, the sideways deal. And they left a 1-star review. Nothing was good enough. It was because they didn't trust you, more than likely. Maybe you did mess up something and lost a little trust. But even when you tried to fix it, they wouldn't even listen because they knew better. All right. So here's what we do is, first of all, we don't take those types of clients. And so for you, when you're out there, I would just say, well, I don't know if this is something I can help you with. They can put heat on you or pressure on you. It's like, hey, just say it's not something that you do. For us, when that's the case, we just charge 3 times as much. And if you end up having to give an estimate to someone and you really don't want to do it because there's friction in the relationship, one thing I would do is charge double or 3 times as much. It's called the mean tax, right? It's called the lack of trust tax. It's a customer or a client you really don't want to work with, but you charge a lot more. So now some of you guys are going to call or schedule a call with me and you're going to be like, Matt, are you giving me the mean tax? No. I will tell you if I am. Like you'll know right away. It's interesting. I shouldn't even be probably talking about this in our podcast, but I want to be super transparent and help with sales. And you guys that are selling, when people come into your pipeline, 95% are going to be great, and you could speak to them and you can work with them. And if you position yourself well and you are the right choice and you have a great business, you're going to have a really strong closing rate. But I just want to kind of end this, section on personalities by saying it's okay that you don't take everything and you pass on some deals, and you'll be happy that you did, because that 5% of deals that you get, that one bad job over a course of the month, that is actually going to take you more time, more work, more effort. The people will be rude. They are going to be questioning. It's going to take more work. It's going to cost more money, and you end up going to regret taking that. And if you look back, you will say, "Man, I never should have taken that." And so I basically look out for red flags with clients that lack trust and that are kind of mega control freaks. And if you find those and you avoid them faster, you'll be so glad that you did. And it's something that Jeff, my partner, and I talk about all the time when we qualify our clients. With that said, if you do the same thing and you save yourself the hassle, you'll be happy. So that completes our segment on the different personality types. And I gave you a little bit of bonus about, what we call red flag clients, but you have red flag customers as well, and you want to identify those. As I wrap up today's podcast, I want to talk a little bit to business owners about hiring. So if you are a sales guy, this will not help you as much, because I want to talk to business owners about hiring and who they have on their sales team. And so let me start off by saying almost all of our clients, the business owner starts off as a sales guy. And then eventually there may be another person go out to sell and the business owner does something else. So it's a natural progression to start off with you selling and growing, but eventually you're going to have to hire a salesperson. I want to just talk through that for just a minute. Man. So I've got a client, they have a beautiful marketing engine. I mean, they crush. They started with like 18 reviews and now they have 250, rating of 4.9. The Maps pack goes across the whole county. Google Ads crush, organic SEO. They got a referral campaign, review campaign, meta ad video campaign. I mean, they crush. When somebody schedules, they get a text and an email, which is powerful. And when it started out, they were just $800,000 and had never generated an online lead. Well, now they generate 100 online leads a month and calls. It's insane. But the owner had to step out of sales. And went from 800,000 to over, almost 4 million. Over the course of a few years, and bootstrapping, by the way, and he had to get a sales guy. Well, he stepped out of that role, and he's like, well, Matt, we're hiring for sales, we need that. And I'm like, yeah, if you get someone who's worth it, it's great, pay him well. So he did commission only, and he thought it was great, and the guy ends up crushing, and the guy makes probably $200,000 to $300,000 a year. Okay. Funny story is, my client called me one day and said, I think our sales guy's going to leave. And I said, I don't think he's going to leave. And she's like, why would you say that? I'm like, well, because of how much money he makes, and nowhere is he going to be able to go and make that kind of money. Right. Because number one, you guys got amazing lead engine. He's not really selling. He's just going out and giving the price, but people already want to work with you because of your great reputation, amazing reviews, and all the killer marketing and things that you guys do. I think actually he's not going to leave. Well, a couple days later, they called me back and said, oh yeah, he's okay. He's fine. And they just had a disagreement. But what's crazy is when you get a sales guy and you have an awesome marketing engine, you actually then can demand more from your sales guy, and you actually can get and control the best sales talent around. So it starts off with having an amazing marketing engine. But when you're hiring the first time, I want to help you with a couple mistakes that you may make if you're a business owner and you're growing and you're like, hey, I got to hire sales. I meet business owners all the time who say, Matt, I got to pay a base, because what if they're not good at, selling, and I got to guarantee some income. And so I had a client a year and a half ago. A guy comes in, he's some hotshot sales guy. They all are, right? Hotshot sales guy. He's like, well, I'm going to need a good base to take this role. And he pays him an $80,000 base. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, this guy's not worth that. I'm telling you that right now, because he would not need a base that high if he was that great. He would want 100% commission. Well, he keeps them for a while, but that guy just doesn't follow up, doesn't close the sales, doesn't really know anything. And he's like, Matt, what should I do? I said, you got to hire commission only. He's like, well, no one's going to take commission only. Actually, they will. The guy that makes $200,000 to $300,000 for one of my clients as a sales guy, commission only. And since that time, the client I'm talking about who fired the $80,000 a year guy has two sales guys that are on commission only as well. Now, what you can do is you can do a draw where you give them X amount of dollars per month, maybe $10.99, a certain amount. And what they do is they get that. And then if they get commission, it goes against that and erases their draw. If they are a good sales guy, and I hope you hear me, if they're a good sales guy, they're not looking for jobs with a high base. People that are looking for any job will take a sales job with a base. But good salespeople, they're not looking for a base. They're looking for potential, how much they can make. So say your commissions are 8 to 10%, I don't know, whatever it is. If when you go out and sell like high ticket items, if it's 8 to say 10%, or maybe your service guys are selling too, when they are selling, and it's different in every industry, of course, so you have to kind of apply this to your business. They're not looking at their base. They're looking at what they get if they sell or upsell, and what that ends up being. So what I always say is like, make your sales guy one of the best, highest paid people in your team, and look at what their earning potential could be or should be. And this is the secret kind of potion, if you will. If you are a business owner and you are like, I want to get out of sales, I need someone good, right? If you can get somebody that can close as good as you can, which is going to be hard because it's your business, right? If you can get someone that can close as good as you can, you need to look at what they would make if they had your pipeline now, right? At whatever commission rate. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're running, let's say you're doing on 10 appointments a week, right? Which isn't a lot, but if you run a business, it is. So 10 appointments a week, 10 hours a week, getting there, 20 something hours, right? What would they make at 10% if they sold what you've sold in the last year? All right. Now, if you look, or whatever the commission rate is, now, if you feel like that's not very busy, they could have a lot more, appointments, then you may not be time to hire yet. But if say it's 10 or 20 appointments or a week, right? Whatever that number is that you're doing, if that is a great income, right, then it's time to hire somebody, especially if it will free up a bunch of your time and all of that. You want to get them a base, not a base, draw against their commissions, no base, and you show them what they would make if they just close like you're closing on this appointment. Now, if it's not a lot of jobs, right? It's like a part-time. You could say we are going to start off at part-time at a higher commission. And then when we get more leads And it's going to be based on appointments. When you get more leads, we're going to lower your commission maybe by a couple percent. So if they're doing 10 appointments a week and you say, hey, we're going to get you to 20, but then once we get to that 20 mark, we're going to lower your commission because I have to invest a whole lot on marketing. So here's the secret. When you hire somebody to replace yourself, business owner, right? Even part-time is good. If you can find someone that's part-time that's good with that and doing all that, that's fine to replace yourself, even at a higher commission. But if the problem is they are not busy enough, then it's not a sales problem. It is a marketing engine problem. And you want to grow your marketing engine so that they can work 40 hours. Then as you scale, what you do is as you get more leads, you hire another part-time guy and then make him full-time when the time comes. And then you may have 2 sales guys that are draw, like not a base, but a draw, and then commission only. If you control the marketing engine, you can expect a whole lot from your salespeople. I'm gonna say this a couple of times because this is important. If you control the marketing engine, right? If you can control the marketing engine, you can expect and get a whole lot more out of your salespeople. So go back to the sales guy making $200,000 to $300,000 a year. Matt, he's going to quit. He's not going to stay. We had this conflict. No, he's going to stay because he can go nowhere else and make that kind of money. And so you can expect more. You can expect him to follow up. You can expect them to do all of these things. And the truth is, if they're good salespeople, they're going to do that anyway. So I have a client that has a couple of sales guys. They each make probably $100,000 a year. And he is upset in our conversation that they don't follow up. And I'm like, well, it's time to hire another sales guy. And if he follows up, you give him more deals. If these guys don't follow up, and in his business, they don't even write the estimates. I'm like, they're not doing estimates. They're not following up, and they're making great money. Then they're the wrong sales guy. Good sales guys will follow up. They will go every day, look in the CRM. They will see what's out, who they need to follow up with. They will know how to address people, like their personality type, which we went through in this podcast. They will be driven to take calls on weekends and whenever, and they will become great salespeople. Now imagine this, right? You got a bad sales guy that is closing at 40% without following up, right? And you're growing and you're like, Matt, I thought we were going to grow. We're getting these leads, but now we're not closing. I've seen businesses struggle with more exposure with a bad closing rate with their sales guys. Here's what I know. If they are not following up and they are not doing all the things that you want them to do, right? And they are not calling and they are not putting pressure, right? And their sales closing rate is low, they're the wrong people, especially if they don't have the fire in their eyes and the drive, because good salespeople will calculate, I will make this much money if I close these many deals. And they will calculate that and they will go after that and they will be driven for that. And if they don't, then it's time to let them go or hire somebody else and start allocating sales away from them to your new sales guy who is driven. You can expect a lot more when your marketing engine is giving them leads. Now think about this. If they're guaranteed 10 to 20 appointments every week, amazing technology, USPs, folders, everything ready, they're going out there and they're talking to, these homeowners and presenting an offer and they're making great money, right? They don't want that to end. And so when they don't deliver on what you are expecting, and as long as it's fair, you can raise the stakes and it just gives you a sweet spot to go. Well, I think that's it for sales. I pulled back the curtain over the last 2 episodes about everything I know about sales. Not everything, but a lot about sales. A lot of this is integrated into marketing and having a good marketing engine to begin with. But if you do that, and it makes the sales process a whole lot easier. I hope that you found it helpful, business owners, as you try to scale. I hope that you salespeople that listen found this helpful as well. As I close out, just want to remind you, you can visit grow.inc to get a ton of free resources. We've got our marketing book, The 4-Step Formula for Growth for your business, We got a marketing checklist, software, tools, and there's some great videos. Also offering a new online school, which is going to have a Wednesday help desk where you can come, just jump on, introduce yourself, and get help. It's all free. We'll answer your questions. We're also going to add some webinars with some really great training on AI this year. So I hope that you will join us in our community. No strings attached. It doesn't cost anything either. So thank you for listening. And if you are ready to scale and you're like, Matt, I've been listening to the podcast, but I'm scared to, go through your sales cycle. Maybe you're thinking that now because I've told you our sales process. Hey, I'm happy to have a conversation with you, and I will analyze you 100%, and I will figure out who you are, and I will try to sell you. No, I'm just kidding. We will talk and see if we are a good fit for your business, but just having fun. You guys have a great day, and thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the podcast today. We hope you found today's episode helpful and informative. For more information about Grow Inc. and to request our free marketing blueprint ebook and other resources, please visit www.grow.inc. That's GRO.inc. We'll catch you in the next episode.